align with our neighboring communities and public perceptions regarding these breed-specific restrictions, particularly on pit bulls. However, over the last several years, many communities in the area, including Overland Park, Wyandotte County, and Prairie Village, have studied the matter and ultimately have decided to remove the breed-specific legislation and instead focus on pet owner responsibility. The memo in the packet outlines the process that Prairie Village and Overland Park went through. It also provides reasons to maintain the restrictions and reasons to repeal the ordinance. To summarize the lists on the maintain the restriction side, administratively, it would be easier to ban a particular breed of dogs as they are perceived to be more dangerous from certain members of the populations. Additionally, proponents of the ban argue that the breeds in general are more aggressive to more dangerous dog bites. On the repeal side, research conducted by the CDC, the American Veterinary Medical Society, and the ASPCA have concluded that there is no significant evidence that proves that breed-specific laws make communities safer for people or companion animals. Additionally, public opinion has shifted on this matter, as many of our neighboring communities have removed the language from their code. Again, this is an introduction and discussion item. Staff remains neutral on the item. If the council would like to revisit the ordinance, I have outlined some recommended steps, including bringing in experts, including veterinarians, law enforcement, and other community partners to discuss this in a holistic manner. Finally, staff is seeking direction from the board on how or if to proceed on this matter, and I will stand for any questions.
Well, thank you, Brandon. I would like to compliment you on your thorough presentation and recap of this. I was on the council when we passed the original breed-specific restriction quite a few years ago. It did generate a lot of public interest. We had not full, but we had more than we have tonight, at current discussion. But it drew a lot of interest in the community, and there were arguments on both sides at the time, which I'm going to say was maybe like 2011 or so, 12 maybe. It weighed more heavily on the side of the ban. There were more people concerned about pit bulls, and that was kind of the sentiment, certainly at that time. So I would imagine that a repeal of the ban likely would generate similar interest amongst our citizens to want to weigh in. But Rob, you had...
and I'm the one that actually asked for this to come forward. I'm not one that would go out and get a dog of this size. I'm typically more of a mid-sized to small-size type of dog, although those that want a tip that want to get your dog exercise without you doing it is have them chase a drone. It'll wear them out very quickly.
You have to do that.
You sit back and control. Anyway, side note. But I asked for this to be brought up because over the last 6 years, especially 4 years, I've had numerous residents, somewhere at least probably almost 12 different residents come up and ask about having this repealed for various reasons. And during those times, as Brandon mentioned, the change in the research and the change in the ordinances has been citywide, where there's very few cities in this area that still have a breed-specific ban. I've talked to several vets where they're as afraid of getting seriously bit by German Shepherds or other dogs instead of pit bulls. One thing, and I appreciate Brandon putting together what he did, especially with less than a week notice when he was trying to get everything else together, was one thing I've asked him as well was not just reaching out, but at some point getting the statistics for our city of how many dog bites have been reported, how many of those were actually pit bulls as far as true incident reports. Because I know I've heard recently from numerous people about being on walks and having a dog come at them, and every single one of those has not been a pit bull. I do, and I mentioned this to Brandon before the meeting, reasons to maintain the simplicity of enforcement. I don't know if it's actually simpler to enforce it with the breed specific or without, because right now our policy is if it's 1% pit bull, it's banned. It's not just is it largely pit bull, not largely pit bull? If it's 1% pit bull, it's banned, at which point, how do you determine that? And if somebody goes, it's really not, and you're going, I think it is, then it's not as simple as it's a dangerous dog. So, but like I said, I asked it to come forward because I've been asked by more residents than not to have it at least discussed and come forward again.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Rob, for putting this on the agenda. I'm a former volunteer at Wayside Waves, spent a lot of time out there working with dogs while they were, and working with their behavioral program. Learned a lot at that time about some of the newer evidence that the breed-specific bans don't make safer communities, and some of the shifting evidence even about breeds in general. So, you know, I would definitely be in favor of us taking a look at this and exploring a policy change, which I know will involve a lot of stakeholder engagement throughout the community. But, you know, I also know, having volunteered at a shelter for a number of years, the number of pit bulls you do see come through there, you know, there's comment about, you know, if cities have bans and you're talking about as little as 1% of a dog, ruling out a dog for a family that would create a good, loving home for that dog, for me, that's, you know, there isn't evidence that that's, you know, increasing the safety of communities, and I'd much rather look at policies that would, you know, allow families to, you know, adopt responsibly or you know, have dogs in their families responsibly in our community. I know this is a community that has a lot of animals and pets, and certainly, yeah, as science and evidence evolves, so should we as a community.
All right. Kevin, any comments?
Yeah, I
Thoughts?
support everything she said, and Mayor, I agree. I think the perception has changed over the years, so I am totally open to reconsidering it.
Okay. Over here.
Yeah, I don't think it should be breed specific. I am one of those people to get a dog like that, opposite of you, Rob. And I mean, my dog falls under the aggressive breed, but never has shown aggression. But
Okay.
if it's not, I do have a question. If it's not breed specific, like what exactly are we?
It would be a dangerous animal or a vicious dog, so it would be based on behavior of the animal in our community. If
And
it,
would we specify what those behaviors
well,
are?
it would be
Because-
well, I think we already probably
Yeah, we
have
already-
those. Pat, I'll let
So the
Pat-
way we, in our code, we define a dangerous animal as, for example, biting another animal, biting a person, and as well being of the pit bull breed.
Okay.
So that's how it's defined under our current code.
Okay, I just wasn't sure what.
Yeah.
So the current ordinance is basically dangerous animal, here's what it is, and pit bull. So I mean, the modification of the ordinance would be very small in the sense of
Just remove.
striking and pit bull.
Okay.
It's a little bit more than just and pit bull,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's about that.
Okay. I just wasn't sure what was defined as
Yeah.
aggressive. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And I mean, we could.
There's,
read it too, but-
Victoria, just to let you know, like if we have a situation where a dog bit, we'll send a notice, and usually it'll get to municipal court, and they can, you know, if someone can test whether or not their animal is dangerous, they can have a trial, and it can be, you know, there can be a finding of whether or not it's dangerous. Jay and I did talk today. There are some other things in the chapter on animals that we'd like to address too, so it may take some time to. I think we'd like to go through the whole chapter, and there are just some other things that we'd like to clean up in that part of the code, so.
all right. Danny, are you
Yeah, I think
in agreement? We can look at it. All right.
so. I'm willing to do that.
Very good. All right. So, Brandon?
Would you just like us to come back to you in 30 days or so with?
Yeah, I
Or
think
just,
so.
is this a workshop item, or you want to discuss it, or is this an agenda item? How would you guys like to handle that?
No, I
That's
think it'd be
really
an
the-
agenda item. I would, yeah. Unless you think that it's a significant enough material that, but I think that also, I don't, you know, there may be an opportunity to use maybe after we've got something we're considering, but, you know, we have that new survey tool.
Yeah.
In our communications toolbox that, we might, survey our citizenry. We have, I think, over 500 people signed up for that, flash survey now.
Flash vote or?
Yes.
Flash vote, yeah, I call it flash, yeah, flash vote.
Patrick and Jay time too to go
Yeah.
over.
Go over what they want to
But
look
I think
at.
that I would be interested to see, I mean, because it would be a fairly random sampling of our, you know, but it's a pretty significant number now, so I think that might help us as well.
And I think that would be helpful as, like I just saw, and when Brandon brought this up, for example, Topeka had a ban, they lifted it, and then, you know, unfortunately, a little girl got mauled by a pit bull, and so there's a lot of outcry. So I think the more we can get the word out, so, and, you know, God forbid
Yeah.
that happens, we can say, look, we got this, this was, you know, thoroughly studied, and, you know, the council made a reasoned decision to lift this ban that we've had for the years that we have, so I think the more communication, the better on that.
I would agree that, yeah, community engagement will be important on this item.
Yeah, I would say that just kind of looking at it in the Kansas City metro area, if you look at kind of Leavenworth County to the north and Miami County to the south, we are one of the few. I've only found 2 municipalities, Westwood being one and Paola being the other, that had bans like this. And then, and so it is something that's kind of moved through the community as a whole over the last, probably really since COVID, really starting in 2020, that's really picked up. So we could certainly definitely look at it. And it was months-long process. I don't know if you followed it in Overland Park, but it took them the better part of a year to come up with all of this.
I just think we want to avoid it being, well, everybody else did it, so
Yeah,
we did it
exactly.
too. I mean, we
Yeah.
have to, I think, study it for our own and
Yeah.
make sure that, you know, we make a good decision.
Yeah, it's much more work to be done on that. Okay, I think I have what I need. Thank you.
Good enough. All right. Item I, discuss community center feasibility study.
This is Mayor and Council, this is a follow-up on our discussion regarding the grant opportunity with the state of Kansas. You may recall, the city, with the help of our communications consultant, Shakti and Mace Communications, prepared a grant proposal on behalf of the city for a community center and childcare facility located in the city. The preliminary construction cost estimates were roughly $35 million, including an indoor aquatic center, pickleball courts, meeting spaces, childcare facilities, fitness rooms, and other amenities. In anticipation of the grant award, the city council had a meeting with the Kansas City area YMCA to partner and discuss potentially them operating the facility. The city had put together kind of a brief survey to help the council gauge the community's interest, given the tight timeline on the project and the grant award. Of the roughly 196 respondents, the top level numbers from that survey were that roughly 76% of the people that responded reported being somewhat or extremely interested in DeSoto building a community center and affordable childcare center. 62% of those that responded said they would use the facility. Unfortunately, in February, staff was notified that our application was unsuccessful. We would not be awarded any grant funding. However, due to the overwhelming level of interest in the project, staff had felt it might be a good time to close the loop with the community and engage the community in a comprehensive feasibility study that expands kind of beyond our city limits in a more comprehensive study, looking at the amenities that would be wanted in our community. So with that in mind, Rob and I actually had a conversation after Park Board meeting about this. But I reached out to the Kansas City YMCA to ask for their recommended vendor for a feasibility study. The vendor Wise has been known for their work on feasibility studies throughout the area. They were the primary consultant on the Prairie Village YMCA that's under construction right now. Exhibit A is a draft proposal from the vendor, and this is a discussion item for the council. And so really, I just wanted to kind of walk you guys through this. Kind of the key takeaways for this is basically this would be a custom-based survey. Think of the ETC survey that we did 2 years ago. There would be telephone surveys, online surveys as well. to kind of get a broad breadth of the understanding. This survey would expand beyond our normal DeSoto boundaries. When I talked to Jay and Justin in the Parks and Recs department, we were looking at, for a community center, who would be using it. So it wasn't just DeSoto residents. We looked at different zip codes. They actually pulled some of the data and scrubbed it for names, obviously, but pulled some of the data and the addresses of residents to get zip codes of where we're drawing our mostly youth to participate in our programs. So it stretches as far as Bonner Springs and Linwood down to Olathe, Shawnee, Lenexa, into those areas. And so this study would not only reach DeSoto, but it would reach all of the communities that we are touching to see if something like this is feasible. It would be the first step in kind of a comprehensive plan for us to build a community center, if that is kind of the ultimate decision. And it would also kind of close the loop with the community on the discussion. So yeah, we weren't successful getting the grant. We heard you. It was something the community wanted to have. This is kind of the first step, looking at if something like this is feasible in our area and something that could be sustainable. So again, this is a discussion item. It's a draft proposal. Staff is looking for direction. If you would like to proceed with this, there's a quote of, what is it, roughly $34,000 to do the study. And we could have a representative from the vendor come in in the first meeting in April to have a conversation and kind of walk you through more in depth of the proposal. But before that, before we did any of that, and given the long agenda we had tonight, I didn't want to have them sit here and have to listen to all the conversation tonight. So if there is direction from staff or to staff to continue, we will bring something. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Questions for Brandon?
Where would that come from the budget?
Probably miscellaneous contractuals. It could be contingent.
Contingency.
Yeah. It could be potentially.
Yeah, timeout on contingency.
To me, this
This is the scope of thing we can handle in a line item budget in the
In a
general
line
fund.
item somewhere.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
consulting services, yeah,
You got some buckets that it would fit into.
so yes.
there's definitely line items we could put it in there.
And this is one that, again, I asked to bring forward to discuss, because not only did we kind of get excited about it and then got disappointed about it, but in the time I've been on council, I probably saw more people get excited about this than, as far as an opportunity, than I have other items. And I've had more people express a disheartened aspect and disappointed aspect that, oh, you didn't get the grant, so it's not going to happen. And the YMCA, when they were talking with us, basically said, even if we're going to come in and do something with you guys, we want a full study done and feasibility to really truly gauge the interest, which is one thing you wanted, is that community engagement. And their piece was, this study is where we get the community engagement. And so I didn't want to see it dropped with the level of interest that was there, which was higher than I've seen in a lot of things. But at the same time, if we at least move forward with the study, we know what we need or what we have, and come 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, if we get other grants or get revenues that would support moving forward, or if there's enough interest and they go, okay, yeah, we would want a bond for this because we really want it, this study will help us gauge not just the now, but that down the road, when would it be feasible and at what point is it good for our community?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree, and, you know, I think if we had this study too, having some of the dialogue with potential partners, you know, we talked about, you know, school being a potential partner or wanting to
Not to pay
use the
for it.
pool. If we had a study that actually had, you know,
It's
where
just
we
the
could look at
process
what people were saying about feedback, to then sit down with those stakeholders and get them engaged in the process, I think would be much easier. The one thing I would say, I would want to include the childcare question in the study, because I think that's something that's been identified as a, you know, area of need, not just in our community, but in many communities, and we're, you know, growing our workforce. So I think it's important to not only understand kind of that core community center aspect, but also the childcare aspect if we're investing in a study of this kind.
Yeah, we could certainly add that in. The proposal is a draft, so we could certainly add that in.
Thank you. Anything on this side? Dan, do you have something?
Oh, no, that really, I don't wanna see $50,000 go out to something we already know. We know we need this. I think there's other avenues we can go to. I just don't wanna spend that kind of money on another study.
All right. Victoria, anything to questions, comments?
No, I mean, it would be good to know where people stand and what they want, but is there any like concern that, you know, you said like 5 years down the line, things might be different? And people might have a different mindset of what they want or need?
With the growth we're seeing, I think the interest would only grow.
Yeah, but like specifically what's
What's in it?
yeah, do you think that might change at all? I mean, I still believe that we need it, this would be good, but like, that's my only concern is down the line, the difference.
I would only see it expanding in what people might want.
Okay.
Brandon, just a question, do you know how long would the YMCA consider? Like, that might be a question that,
Yeah.
you know, if they say, well, if you got a study within 5 years, it's still good, or will we have to do it all over again?
So the initial study that the Prairie Village did was pre-COVID, and Prairie Village decided to redo it. But the study was still good. My understanding it's good for 5 years. I will follow up, but my understanding is it's good for 5 years. So like I mentioned in the memo, it's an unbudgeted item. It's not something that we would have to do, but it would be something to kind of, again, close the loop with the community, kind of give them an understanding of what we're looking at while the conversations are kind of happening in the community. Depending on when we did it, we may have to go back in a couple years and update it or redo it. But
So along those lines, though, we could say, well, let's plan to do it in a year.
yeah,
You know, so that we
Yeah.
kind of get a little closer, still have plenty of time to plan and budget and allocate, but maybe get a little closer to actually making something happen. So
Yeah.
it doesn't become stale dated.
yeah, you could certainly put this in the 2025 budget, and you know you'd have a decent estimate. I imagine it would go up, 10 or 15%, but you would have a decent estimate of what that cost would look like. So that's kind of up to the council's prerogative of when and if they wanted to pursue this matter.
I think if we were deferring it to next year, my only suggestion would be perhaps we, communicate a little bit with the public about the fact that, like, we've talked in council, we didn't get the grant, but it's not like there was a big community conversation about that. But at the same time, because of using Flash Vote and engaging the community, there has been quite a bit of chatter, as kind of Rob alluded to, that people got excited about it. There's, one online conversation where people were kind of still confused about where did things stand at this point. So it might be, if there's going to be a long time horizon before we take action, it might be good to just add a little more community
Yeah.
conversation.
And a big portion of the studies includes a lot of community engagement,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is what we're really,
I think to Courtney's point, actually closing the loop with our citizens would be good on the grant. We haven't issued
Right.
a statement or had done a mailing or, a social media post or anything that said, hey, thanks for all your interest. We tried our best, but we came up short. But here's what we're doing, planning to do
Exactly.
next year to advance so I really like that idea.
and knowing the feedback, knowing the study also lets us know how strongly to pursue other grants and other options to fund something as well.
Similar,
yeah.
Do we put a lot of effort into finding some of the grants, or do we just kind of try, or, hey, they're not really as interested as we thought?
I like the planning for next year. I mean, not that it's kicking the can, but I think we have a lot of stuff going on. And another thing, but I do
We got a
feel that
comprehensive plan to get through.
it's important to communicate that we're not just gonna let this, well, we didn't get it, forget it, we'll keep working on it. So just to let people know we're still working on it.
Yeah, community center discussions generally take they take years, to find out, what's needed, what's wanted, what can be supported. They often take a number of years.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'd ask consensus let's plan the budget for this next year. Do we have that?
That's my straw vote.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I'm not
I
hearing
would
anybody
also
wanting.
say, Brandon, find out from YMCA how long they consider survey good for?
Yeah, I'll loop back and shoot you guys shoot council an email with that response. But what I'm remembering, I'm sorry, Rob, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
What I'm remembering, it was 5 years. Prairie Village redid it because COVID had happened right in the middle of it, and they wanted to kind of make sure that the community was still on board with this idea. So I will look into that.
All right. Number 5, executive session. Nothing on the list tonight, that's good. Advisory reports, city administrator.
No report from me, Mayor. Good job on your radio interview this week.
Good job on your radio
I wanted to
interview, Mike.
compliment you on that.
Thank you. City attorney.
Just real quick, and Mr. Messenger obviously is no longer here, but I just wanted to let the council know on these agreements not to protest the benefit district, since we talked about benefit districts, what we ask, you can still protest the amount that your property's assessed, you can still protest the method of assessment, but the agreement, it prevents you from, because these benefit districts likely would be initiated by the city, and all it's really saying is you and your property, you could not be in the column of protesting that benefit district.
bring it up. He'll bring it up.
So with regard to,
So it's more they can't protest the petition.
Just too late.
correct, yeah.
I'll remind
So they could not defeat the benefit district. They're sort of out on that. But when it comes to, we're gonna assess by square footage, road frontage, things of that nature, they can still protest. So,
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Update. City planner, how were you done?
Yep.
No,
that was it.
no comments,
No,
then,
no
Mayor. Thank you.
report. City engineer. Assistant city administrator.
Just 2 quick things, because we are coming up on 10 o'clock. The 2 events coming up, the State of the County is April 9th at the Overland Park Convention Center from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Chamber of Commerce has reserved a table. I'm going to send you guys an email about this as well. If you would like to attend, please let me know. And I'll make sure that we get you at the table. And finally, the Chamber Annual Dinner is April 19th. Some of you may have gotten an Save the Date or RSVP. I did not get one. I just happened to pop down to the chamber, which is why I knew about it today. I will also send out another invite for you on that as well. And for our new council members, the Chamber Annual Dinner is open to significant coming to the annual dinner as well, and the city will pay for that. If there's any other questions, I'll stand for them, but that's really about it.
Put me down for the state of the county.
Got it.
All right, council comments. I'll start with you, Danny. Anything for the group tonight?
I'd like to thank staff and 2 of those households that are new people. Appreciated the hours and the phone number.
The website update?
The
Yeah.
website update.
Thank
and I
Whitney for
wanted to thank,
doing that. Yeah.
Mike and staff, Whitney for doing that. They appreciated having that done and they felt good. Should I say.
We couldn't believe they weren't on there.
They,
Like,
well,
really? They're not.
they asked me why it wasn't on there and I couldn't answer them. I said, well, everything's kind of really going fast now. And I said, they must have just left that off.
I think that's right.
And I think they're gonna fix that. So
Great.
they called and they said it's on there.
Very good.
So,
All right, thank you, Danny. Victoria?
thank you.
No, nothing.
All right. Rob?
2 things. Congratulations to the DHS girls and boys basketball teams on a good season despite their losses the last 2 days. And then I haven't missed a State of the County address yet, although I'm gonna have to miss this one because they decided to put it on the day after the eclipse.
Oh,
And my parents have property on the line of totality, and we are going down to celebrate their 60th wedding anniversary and enjoy the 5 minutes of totality on their property.
Congratulations.
So I have a feeling the small town they live in is expecting 100,000 people in a very tiny town. So the trafficking back the next day may not be as quick to get back as I would like.
Yep.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Rob. Courtney?
Well, congratulations to Brandon on passing his SHRM CP exam.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Oh, wanted to recognize that.
Thank you.
Also had a citizen raise a concern about the crosswalk that connects the Arbor Ridge subdivision with the path across the street. Wanting to see if there's any sort of signal or additional please slow down that we could add to that. There's a number of people who enjoy walking their dogs or taking walks from the subdivision across into the rest of the pathways in town, and that can be a dicey crossing. I also have not experienced it myself, but I guess some folks in the evenings are having some trouble with the left-hand turn off of Kill Creek going into town again. So
Left-hand turn
Northbound
sitting
Kill
looking
Creek to
north, trying to turn left.
westbound.
trying to turn into town from Kill Creek, I guess several rotations of the light before being able to proceed. So
It's one of those intermittent problems. that we've
I
never-
know, and it seems to be specifically evening, like 5 to 7 p.m. from what I was able to get, because I was trying to ask questions because I hadn't experienced any issues at the intersection, but it seems like there may be a certain time frame there.
Often it's color of car and the angle of the sun, and it really does. It plays a difference.
Yeah.
And moisture.
Moisture.
Yeah.
And everything is working fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the detecting, the camera's pointing in the right direction, it's detecting.
It's just we need a
You know,
better
depending on
camera.
times it could be, we've had issues with sunlight on cameras because it reflects.
Maybe we could ask Josie for a little grace on running the red light on.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'll second Courtney on the crosswalk at Arbor Ridge. I've asked about the signage a couple times there because the crosswalk symbol is a small piece of a larger sign and not just a big sign
Yeah,
to where
yeah.
I know when I've been running it, I not just double, triple check, but I look many a time on that. And then also, I mean, this brings up the question of some of the active crosswalks that we had talked about years back.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as getting more
We
active.
had bid plans for
Yeah.
rectangular rapid flashing beacons at that one and the one at WIA or thereabouts.
So I know we had talked about it, but
It's a big emphasis on this corridor study we're doing.
Mhm.
Pedestrian access, pedestrian crossings, that's
did
long-term.
we
but
budgeted for it though at one point?
It was in the CIP. Some of those items were like Lexington pedestrian
Yeah.
improvements
Yeah.
were in the CIP at one point, yeah. I think there's lots of things we can do to make the situation better without multi-million-dollar projects, so we'll look and see what we can do. On that one specifically at Arbor Ridge, because it's heavily used.
Heavily used, and
Yeah.
I understand the study is looking at long-term what should happen to all of this, but this is I think a short-term
Immediate
issue that
need,
needs
yeah.
some
Had some
needs
blinker
to be
lights
addressed.
around a bigger sign that,
I don't know if the flags would be appropriate, I don't know.
I was hoping for the hexagon sign with the lights with the solar on top,
Like at the school crossings.
like school crossings.
Yeah.
That way we
good
wouldn't have-
points.
We wouldn't have to put any electricity in, it's solar and it just goes.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Kevin?
Pass.
All right. I have two things. Everybody's got a couple tonight. First thing, in the line of grants, Mark, Mid-America Regional Council is applying for a grant in the range of $190 million for implementation of priority climate action plan, climate plan action priorities. So the things that, and so they sent out a request for a list of projects, 6 months ago, Mike, I don't know, you remember that?
I don't.
Anyway, every community sent in what was on their list, priority projects in the area of climate action. Might be a weatherization for your community or something. I don't think we got anything in. I think we had other things going on, but
Could we have put charging stations?
well, some people did charging stations, yeah. Doesn't mean we can't apply if they're successful getting the grant, but they would like a letter of support from the city of DeSoto to accompany the grant application. So before I sent that letter, I just wanted to inform you all of the application and basically get consensus that you're okay with me sending a letter of support from the city of DeSoto for the MARC grant on implementation of Priority Climate Action Plan priorities. Does anybody disagree with me sending that letter? All right. The next item I have, do you have a resolution?
Oh,
It's,
yeah,
it's,
it's on
It's
the,
here.
it's
on the
on
Fire
the,
district.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, we're a couple months late in filling our position on the fire board. Bob Garrett has been on the fire board for 3 terms, I think now. Bob has requested one more term to stay through and finish what they have started, see this fire station built, and I said, that seems like a reasonable request, Bob, and I'd be willing to reappoint you. So, with that, I would appreciate your approval of Bob Garrett to serve an additional term as the City of DeSoto representative to the Northwest Consolidated Fire Board.
Do we have 2 others or another one?
We only have one appointment this year.
One appointment? Okay.
And it's, what,
Thought
is it a 4-year term?
McDaniels was on there.
3.
Three-year term.
Oh,
It's
3
if you-
full, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, 3 full, I guess when you count the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we did Doug Bedford, I think beginning of 2023.
Yeah.
The city appointed Doug Bedford and now Bob's up.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So if I could
Well,
get,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2038 to appoint Bob Garrett to serve as a member of the board of Northwest Consolidated Fire District beginning January 1, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2026.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tripp,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
McMoran,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Well, thank you all. I don't have anything else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.